Albania today is taking strides towards a better future. And yet, as this scene filmed recently shows, many Albanians are still struggling to make ends meet. Quarrying by hand is work for women and children if it's the only way to put food on the table. They are on the reject heap at a chrome ore mine in Bulqiza. Albania is one of the poorest countries in Europe.
People have died here. Look where they're bringing the rocks. And look where they're getting them from, up there. There have been 2 deaths. Workers can be buried in the rocks.
A lot of Albanians scramble to survive. But their country is on a hopeful path of integration with the European Union. The Land of Eagles is a candidate to become a member. Change on the road to Europe, a main theme in this month's legislative elections. Drive north and the road is not only a metaphor, there's building on a monumental scale. A 170-kilometre-long motorway will soon link the west of Albania with neighbouring Kosovo. From the capital Tirana, by the old route, we've driven for more than 3 hours. We've reached a stretch cut through mountain. The construction company is Turkish-American.
We've excavated 34 million cubic meters of earth and rock, and we've done that in a period of about 24 months. We were consuming 10 tons of explosives a day. It's hard for people to imagine that. We had 1,200 pieces of equipment that we had to bring in to do this work. This right here is probably one of the largest civil works that are being undertaken in the world.
The patriotic motorway, as it's sometimes called in Albania, should halve the time it takes to go from its southern border to Kosovo, where more than 90% of the population is Albanian. This adds symbolic satisfaction to the expected economic impulse of the transport acceleration, which should affect the whole Balkan region. But when costs ballooned from a projected 400 million euros to now more than 1 billion for a 60-kilometre section alone, critics were horrified. In this village by the motorway, no one wants to talk about the corruption allegations linked to the contract bidding. Homes were expropriated, although the owners were financially compensated, and a new school was built, and there is promise for the future.
This place was lost, dead. There was nothing here. Now there'll be stores, restaurants, tourism. We have everything to gain because now we can work. I've worked in Greece, Italy, all over Europe. But I've earned more money in Albania, and that's been thanks to the road. Things are going to change here. It's better to be able to work in your own country, in Albania. When you're an immigrant, you don't have a life, you've got nothing. Nowhere in the world is worth what life is at home. We hope that life in Albania will change for the better, thanks be to God.
Albania has high hopes for tourism. Flora Bay in the south is promoted as a gem of a place just a few dozen kilometers from the heel of Italy. But the people who live here are worried about industrial developments. Lavdosh Feruni is spokesman for a group of locals trying to protect Flora Bay.
Instead of developing tourism, which is considered as a high potential for the country, it's quite likely that it's going to develop some polluting industries, basically energetic power plants based on coal or oil, which is definitely something that is not on the as a benefit for the country.
Beside an abandoned sodium hydroxide factory now stands an oil storage depot, the new face of Vlora. The foreman for the Italian concession holder says the facility is fully up to safety standards, that there's no risk of pollution, and that if ever a tanker docked here has a problem, it's been taken into account. This terminal has potential.
Major companies, I don't want to mention names, now see Albania in a different light because the technical conditions to come and work here have been met. That was impossible until now. Vlora is a natural harbour in the heart of the Balkans. You see, we've got a railway here. It's linked to the national network. You can go to Macedonia, to Montenegro, and a little later to Kosovo. Northern Greece isn't far. That's what's geostrategic about this place.
Nearby, a dual fuel energy plant sits at the edge of a protected forest. This was the option the authorities chose to ensure the national power supply. Ecologists contest this, saying Albania is only using 30% of its main source, hydroelectricity. They also object to a planned wind turbine park in the area, among Europe's biggest, also to be built by an Italian group, in a nature reserve.
All these investments are just a kind of investment that are fully designed to serve to the Italian companies and some other multinationals, like in the case of the big port.
The biggest container port in the whole Mediterranean basin is on the drawing board, a joint Swiss-British project. An American-led multinational has been entrusted with building an oil pipeline from Bulgaria to end up in Vlora. Local property agent Hector Harizaj is concerned about how tourism can survive. It has other problems too. Prices have soared in the past few years, then the economy soured. Building rules are ignored, waste management neglected.
All abusive construction without permits has to be stopped. This policy, harmful to the environment, mustn't be allowed if we want a Mediterranean city which answers to all the standards of modern tourism. There has to be an end to the negative effects of industrialization, because we're hoping to get into the European Union in the next few years. If we don't do the right thing, we risk paying a high price.
Will Albania grasp the opportunity of sustainable development?